Procurement has traditionally lived on the operational side of the house, focused on negotiating contracts, managing suppliers, and basically just keeping the business running. But in the modern enterprise, procurement has evolved into a strategic lever for financial performance, risk management, and ESG compliance. So today we're asking, what role should procurement play in the office of the CFO? I'm Scott Leahy, and this is Esker On Air. Joining me today is Adam Collins, back again, head of sales for Americas at Market Dojo. Adam is our expert when it comes to procurement insights and helping customers take that first step into digitizing the sourcing process. So Adam, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me again, Scott. Yep, second time. So I've been looking forward to this for a while now.
Good deal. Well, let's kick things off here. So how is procurement connected to the office of the CFO?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think now more than ever, procurement and finance have needed to be more aligned. Really what it comes down to for me is that procurement is the gateway into finance. It's designed to almost protect organizations from unexpected spend, to ensure that organizations have got a compliant supply chain, to make sure there's no risks in their supply chain. And this has probably become more important now than ever, given the likes of the tariffs. And obviously we've gone through COVID recently, and we saw a lot of organizations struggle and in some circumstances fail because there was a vast disconnect between finance and procurement. So those are what I think around that point there.
Building on that, building on those possible disconnects, those issues that pop up, where do things typically break down when procurement is not aligned with finance?
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to visibility of data. So I hear many stories where finance aren't aware of a new vendor until an invoice lands, and that should never be the case. What you need, or what organizations should look to have, is a consistent platform that allows you to see the entire start to finish process, right the way from where you've sourced your goods and materials and services, right the way through to the onboarding of the supplier, as well as ensuring that you've got a three-way match when it comes to invoice, delivery, and purchase order. It fails where there is disconnect. It fails where you have what's sometimes known as maverick spending, so there is no control over how procurement goes out to tender with their vendors. And it also fails when sometimes there's a, let's call it bogus supplier that's cropped up because somebody in procurement has decided that they know best. They want to source from their friend down the road, and all of a sudden you've got some risks that are embedded within your supply chain. So I've seen it fail where there's a consistent platform, and by having that consistent platform, you can see that start to finish process in a much more linear manner. Data is so key for finance and procurement to make the right decisions for their businesses. And without that in place, it's very difficult for you to actually know whether or not you're doing good procurement and indeed protecting your organization.
Thinking about potentially righting a ship or making sure that you're staying on top of those things, what are some of the best practices that companies can follow so that they can better integrate procurement into that finance conversation? Yeah,
I think first and foremost, a real good practice is to ensure that you've got a strategy when it comes to category management. So we see mature procurement outfits having dedicated resources that focus on things like direct, indirect, but then even deeper than that, they'll focus on specific areas of spend, such as logistics or manufacturing, or even indeed things like office materials or office supplies. Just by having those subject matter experts focusing on the categories that they have an understanding of, they understand the market well, helps organizations make sure that, again, they're going out to market with an appropriate level of diligence and an appropriate level of governance in place when sourcing. Another good practice is ensuring that, again, your procurement folk have the right tools to use, when it comes to going out to negotiate. It's very, very difficult for an organization to understand whether or not it's getting true market value without actually running competitive bidding. And I know that many organizations may say, well, we do this. We do this at the moment. We always ask for quotes from our suppliers. But doing that via a mailbox is so difficult, and it's also very, very difficult to actually compare apples for apples. So I think one of the key strategies there is to employ some form of procurement excellence, or indeed some kind of system that allows organizations to do things in the right manner, evaluate suppliers correctly, and make sure that you're not just looking for a race to the bottom all of the time when it comes to cost.
Obviously, Esker focuses a lot on automation. So how does that play into procurement's evolution?
Yeah, so speaking specifically about us, how we help with the automation aspect, our solution is geared up to help organizations streamline the entire source-to-pay process. And when we focus on sourcing, how we streamline that, we're talking about adding some guardrails, adding some guidance around people's ability to go to tender by using pre-formatted templating that can ensure that the right questions are being asked of vendors, the right pricing structure is being asked of vendors when you go to bid. And it also ensures that you're including the correct and appropriate vendors as a part of that sourcing process. So we have what we call a sourcing automation feature that basically streamlines when somebody is going out to run a tender. All they have to enter is a few elements of criteria, and that will predetermine the template that they should use and indeed the suppliers that they should invite as a part of that exercise. Then what you can also do as a layer on top of that is you can use generative AI to help you ask certain questions that you know that you need to ask, but you might not be a topical expert as to what it is you need to ask. So you can prompt AI to provide you with some suggestions around things like ESG, governance, D&I, et cetera, and it will provide you with some suggested questions that you can then incorporate as a part of your evaluation process. So the automation aspect really from a sourcing standpoint is streamlining the way that people can go out to bid, ensuring that there's some guardrails around that, ensuring that people aren't doing things in a maverick way. And then what you end up with is a completed sourcing exercise that then gives you clear visibility on supplier A versus supplier B, and then you can push that information further downstream to then complete that process of having budget approval.
Got it. Well, final question here, and thinking about that main takeaway, what is the key message for CFOs or finance teams listening here today who may still see procurement as that separate function?
Yeah, I think it's really important that the organizations do their best to try and harmonize, and the best way that you can do that is to align your strategies. Understand what your 5 main KPIs are for your financial year and how procurement can help affect some of those KPIs that sit within the office of the CFO. Procurement is very important in all of this because ultimately it's the entry point of spend. It's the entry point of suppliers being introduced to your organization. And we need to live in a new world now where procurement can really be that protection for the bottom line of the organization. So I can only stress the importance of making sure you work in a synergized format, be that via a platform that you have a single source of truth across all the way from start to finish. But even if you don't have access to tools like this, work together in terms of your strategy. Make sure you talk to one another about what the key KPIs are for procurement as well as finance, and then make sure that you have a relative opportunity to impact or influence, I should say, one another's KPI. Because again, if it all comes down to the money in, money out, if you will, of an organization, then on the money out aspect, procurement are in the front line, and it's important that they are involved in the strategy of the office of the CFO.
Well, Adam, thank you again for giving us a closer look at how procurement is kind of stepping into the spotlight right now and why it deserves a seat in the office of the CFO.
Thank you very much, Scott.
So if you're looking to unify procurement with finance and explore how Esker's source-to-pay solutions can help, check out the link in the show notes. And as always, to learn more about Esker, you can check us out at esker.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.